Many of you have the completely wrong impression and even misinformation on what a warlock is. You think it's a male version of a witch. That's so ridiculous it's even laughable. The word witch is an ancient word predating the birth of Christ, and it has no gender. A witch is a witch. Oh, and don't get it confused with this newfangled religion that runs around calling itself witches. They're more stupid than the Judeo-Christian miseducated notion that a warlock is a male witch. So, what is a warlock, really? Let's start from the beginning. No, really, the real beginning. And just to allay your fears, warlocks have nothing to do with witches, male nor female. As I said, witches themselves predate any notion of Christianity or even a church at all, nor are they any part related to this new Wiccan religion, which is all of 40 years old, started by Gerald Brusso Gardner, 1884 to 1964. Gardner spent most of his career in Asia, where he became familiar with a variety of occult beliefs and magical practices. Wiccans try to pass themselves off as a modern version of the ancient order of witches, but it's like saying the car is the modern version of the dragon. The two have nothing to do with each other. It is said that warlocks are from 14th century Scotland, and that was the first origin of the word. I find it curious, then, that there are warlocks around the time of ancient African Egypt. It is also said that the origin of the word is oath breaker or deceiver. Oh, the deceiver part is true, but it has nothing to do with what those poor barbaric Scots thought it meant. You see, to a man, oh, and we're all men, by the way, we're not human. There are no parts of us that are human. Oh, yes, we look perfectly human, but then what else would a deceiver look like? In fact, we're not even in your time. Oh, I keep forgetting. You haven't discovered time yet. You're still like newborn babes floundering around on its belly trying to figure out how to crawl. In the sense of the universe, you're just now stretching your arms and legs to gain any semblance of starting to crawl. You've destroyed all of your ancient discoveries, and your egos want to pretend that this stage of humanity is the only stage that has discovered anything. I don't even understand what that was for. You go around destroying all of the ancient discoveries, then dig up discoveries, and then hide them. But wait, here's the funny part. This is like the 5th time humans have done this. This modern man thinks that you just now discovered flight. Every 10,000 years or so, you discover flight. The earth weathers changes, a few million of you die, then the new ones pretend all the old ones never discovered anything. Yes, 5 times. I find it funny how stupid humanity is. Oh, and a group of you always get so greedy that you want to control all the other ones. But what's really insane is that anyone not in that group that finds a piece of the puzzle that can move the ball forward is killed and his discovery destroyed because he doesn't play for the winning team. And what's with the religion thing? It serves no purpose. We warlocks really don't understand why you continually need to have religion. It does absolutely nothing for you. And what's really ridiculous is that it pretends it's going to train you about immortality. If you simply stopped killing everyone not in your group that makes new real discoveries, you'd have already been immortal. But no, you keep coming up with new religions that is going to explain eternal life. And what's really tragic is religion does everything it possibly can to make certain that you never achieve eternal life. It's like saying, I'm going to make sure you have a beautiful wife, and then goes out and kills all the women. We don't get it. So what is a warlock? We're beings out of time. No, we're not observers. Well, we're not supposed to be observers. Oh, you all have observers, and they really are observers. But warlocks are not observers. We are simply beings that are immortal, as you would call it, and we don't interfere with you. Yes, we see what you're doing, but we're not observing you. It's like the difference between an owl and a cat. An owl observes you. If you were able to speak with the owl, he'd tell you everything he's observed. But now a cat, oh, that's entirely a different animal altogether. If you were to speak to a cat, he'd tell you what he's seen. But a good 40% of it would have nothing to do with you. Do we practice magic? Compared to you, yes, we practice magic. But it's the difference between an electrician and a European caveman. Compared to the caveman, the electrician is performing magic. But from the electrician's point of view, he's just being an electrician. I'm just being a warlock. There are certain laws that you have absolutely no concept of. There are words that you can't even comprehend. You all keep killing each other before you even get to the stage where you can even start a board to write the words on, even less the words themselves. If I reached my hand through the wall, would that be considered magic to you? Yes? That's how juvenile man is. If I opened a door and disappeared from your sight when I closed it, would I be performing magic? No. You just can't see me. I can still see me, and I continue on doing what I normally do. That is how simple what warlocks do is to warlocks. But to humans, it's like magic. If I got in a car and drove for an hour, would that be magic? No, right? Have I disappeared? No, right? Did I dimension travel? No, right? I got in a car and drove. Here's the problem with you humans. You don't want to know there's a car. You don't even want to know there's a key to the car. You don't even want to know there's a seat in a car that you can safely sit in. And every time a human from a different group comes up with discovering the metal for the key to open the door to the car, you slaughter him and tell his people that that metal was his imagination. Meanwhile, we warlocks are just like, the key isn't even the discovery. Heck, nor is the door it unlocks. You're like 50 steps away from even understanding the car. In the meantime, when we warlocks try to say hello to you, you try to have us hunted down and killed. Is it even worth it speaking to humans? No. And that's why we look completely like average humans, so as not to draw attention. You're not going to kill us. You're not going to destroy us It's just annoying that you try. I will tell you the story of my life. Yes, my life. I'll put it in those terms so you can understand it. I'll start from the beginning and go slow. I will tell you a story of my life. Yes, my life. I'll put it in those terms so you can understand it. I'll start from the beginning and go slow. So I came into being about what you would call 100,000 years ago. Yes, that sounds about right. Don't worry, some of us came into being millions of years ago. What do you mean? Oh, yes, I forget. Because you have to be birthed on this planet, you believe that everything has to have something that came before it came into existence. You cannot fathom that something simply comes into existence. You really have never sat down and thought about what invented your gods, have you? In fact, I'm willing to bet and guarantee you a swift excommunication ritual if you ever dared ask your preachers and priests what invented God. So I came into being around 100,000 years ago. It actually may have been 1,000,000, but there was nothing observable to keep track of time. You see, other warlocks came from other planets. I'm just a warlock that stays here. Don't worry, there are many like me. We don't belong to... What do you mean, came into being? Oh, I see, you're still stuck on that. You're really going to have fits when you ask, what am I? Instead of, when I began. Have you ever met a person that dyed their hair so much they honestly have no idea what color their hair is? So, I have appeared a human for so long, and all other warlocks on this planet do too, that I don't really remember what we look like. Also, it's like your heart beating and your breathing. Do you know your brain actually tells your heart to beat and your lungs to breathe? It's true. However, it's a part of your brain so primitive that if you consciously think about doing either, you mess it up. So a long time ago, we developed the same sort of thing, but it was for appearing like the species on the particular planet that we were. Why black? You mean African? Because when we arrived on this planet, that's the only humans that were around. Which is very different from the ancient order of witches. They are born into bloodlines. Contrary to popular belief, you cannot become a witch. Oh, and as a side note, 99.9999% of every witch ever called a witch was simply a human, even if that human thought they themselves were a witch. That's just warlock observation there, but witches are simply humans from certain families or bloodlines. Warlocks are beings of power. Sounds impressive until I show you what it is we do, and then you won't be so impressed. So let's go back around 100,000 years. This was the first modern era. Remember how I told you that 5 times humans have made astounding inventions and discoveries? Well, 100,000 years ago was the first human modern era, or age of discovery. They were whipping around, flying, or on their sea ships. Oh, but this was a different time from these days. The humans were very close to behaving like warlocks. They believed in the enrichment of the mind and making the mind reach out to do most of the work instead of burning off resources and being lazy about their inventions. Well, it didn't last very long because soon came the first death and recovery. It got cold, very cold, and many left Africa. But this time, they didn't shun the way of humans using their brain power to power things. We warlocks were very proud of humans. Some of us would have you believe it was us that helped humans develop the way that they did. But we have a strict code that we never reveal ourselves nor interfere. We are content to live next to humans and go about carrying out our agenda. Oh, I'll tell you about that later on. So, no, it wasn't warlocks that helped humans. They did that on their own. So, millions of humans died, and they fled beautiful Africa, bountiful Africa. That was the first time that religion peeked its ugly head out and led humans astray. And everyone that left mingled with non-humans. It turned out rather bad. They didn't have anything worthwhile for around 100,000 years. Meanwhile, the African humans bounced back when it got warmer. Well, it continued like this for a while. Every 20,000 years or so, the earth would nearly wipe out the humans, except the African humans, and the humans would come back and start all over. Well, Africans never forgot their inventions until the last time Africa built Egypt, which was close to the Asians and the Europeans, as they call them today. Well, both the Asians and Europeans were extremely jealous of the African humans and kept attacking northern Africa. They really hated Egypt so much that they wiped out all the Africans to the point you'd have to go into the interior northeast Africa to find Africans. That area never did recover. Complete genocide by the Asians and the Europeans of northern Africa, and once again religion played a major role in that genocide. Meanwhile, we warlocks called a conference after this last modern era. We discussed if we'd break our silence, reveal our presence, and show that the Europeans and Asians should be listening to Africans instead of trying to murder them for their advanced technology. I bet you can guess which side I was on, right? I was on the side that wanted to reveal our presence, but those warlocks that were millions of years old shouted everyone else down. This is how we've done it on every planet, and this is how we'll continue to do it here. I stood up and said, these humans are literally going to bombard themselves into the Stone Age. And you did. The eldest of us thanked me for my young wisdom. He had already seen all of this on countless planets. There was also a contingent that were very angry that the European and Asians started going this use of resources way to develop flight, travel, and communication, where the Africans were very close to the ancient ways, which were the warlock ways of using brain power. They spoke for more than a year at the conference, and all warlock present, including the eldest among us, lamented that the African ways were thrown away. And this modern era is punctuated by resource consumption instead of brain power. The eldest predicted that sooner rather than later, the humans would rely so heavily on resource consumption technology that when the resources run out, the entire planet will go under. And even in that last hour, oh no, I don't mean an hour like you mean an hour, they will refuse to listen to African humans who will come out with technology using brain power. So next, let's talk about what you humans call Warlock magic. Okay, you wanted to know about Warlock magic? Okay, do you want a general discussion? Or do you want to actually know what Warlock magic is? To understand it on a fundamental level? Because here's your problem. The very concept of Warlock magic, in quotes, isn't magic at all. But it is so far beyond this world that even after explaining it to you, it will all sound like magic. Again, if I stuck my hand through that wall right there, would that be magic to you? Yes, it would. See, that's the problem. What's 2 plus 2? 4? Why? What do you mean? What do I mean why? The question is why? See, on your planet, your learning is pretty terrible. Even your simple mathematic concepts are not even taught to be understood. Go find the answer to that and then come back and we can continue this conversation. Ah, you're back. Columbia, Morehouse, these are universities? Okay, let's see your explanation of why 2 plus 2 equals 4. In standard Zermelo-Fraenkel ZF set theory, the natural numbers are defined recursively by 0 equals bracket, the empty set, and n plus 1 equals n sum of bracket n. Then n equals bracket 0, comma, 1, comma, ellipse, n minus 1 bracket for each natural number n. The first few numbers defined this way are 0 equals empty set, 1 equals bracket 0, which equals the set which contains the empty set, comma, 2 equals bracket 0, comma, 1, which equals to the set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set, comma, 3 equals bracket 0, comma, 1, comma, 2, which equals the set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set. Basically, 2 is the arbitrary name we have assigned to the set bracket empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set, or any collection of things that can be mapped 1 to 1 onto that set. And 4 is the arbitrary name we have assigned to the set bracket empty set, comma, the set which contains empty set, the set which contains the set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set which contains the empty set which contains the empty set, or any collection of things that can be mapped one to one onto that set. The symbol plus is defined as an operation of taking the union of two sets. So 2 plus 2 is by definition translated into the set theoretic operation, the set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set, union the set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set, equal to the set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set, comma, the empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set. If we look at the canonical set of numbers as described in the quote above, this resulting set can be mapped one to one uniquely onto this number. The set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the set which contains the empty set, comma, the set which contains the set which contains the empty set, which is, by definition, denoted as 4. This is juvenile, but it will suffice. Here's the real question. Did you understand it? Good. Let's proceed then. If I'm to describe Warlockian magic, I will have to start from the beginning with the first Warlock. No, I'm not. Wait. You bring up an excellent point. I could be, but as far as I know, I'm not the first Warlock. I can remember when I came into being, and it was on this planet. This was not the first case for the first Warlock. He said he came into existence in what you would call space, very disoriented, but it wasn't in this dimension. Your kind is only now even venturing to even question if this is the only dimension. And that question is giving so many fits. Both religious and scientists, humans alike, are questioning the sanity of those that would question that, which is rather hypocritical of religious people because most of them base their scripture in an alternate dimension that they refer to as a whole host of different things. Some of the religions go so far as to say there are tens of thousands of dimensions, each having nothing to do with the others. So we all begin in a completely different dimension, let alone planet. But what's really giving your scientists fits is that they are understanding what they can't perceive. Now, telling this to the general population makes them sound like wizards and magicians themselves. They say, we humans are so limited in our perception that we are like insects on the surface of a pond. But we have no wings and don't even understand that there is air, nor do we have gills and cannot swim in the water. We are two-dimensional beings going north, south, east, west. We cannot comprehend that there is air nor water. Now, if you told the average man that walking the street, they would say the scientist is crazy. But I'm here to tell you, those scientists are the smartest humans on the planet. They're the only ones that know that they don't know. Then you have those that have come up with the notion that there is a goo that surrounds everything, including planets And this goo is everywhere, including in the empty space inside of molecules. These scientists know this because they can tell something is in the way when they look over huge distances to planets, but also when they look through microscopes inside of molecules, that something is in the way. But they have no way of seeing that something. The first Warlock came into being knowing all of this. As more, the first second he existed. And what's more, he could not only see this thing that was in the way, but he could manipulate it. You see, that's what's so attractive about this dimension. It's so primitive. Coming into this universe is like stepping back in time before time, when you literally have fire hurtling through space. And what's more humorous is that you're the same exact thing, but you keep thinking you're a human, just a human. But I won't go into that because I'm not your observer. We are not your observer. So the first Warlock knew how to move the invisible. He knew the names of things. He could move the space between the molecules. He could fold space. He could fold time. He could open doors through all the dimensions, walk through and appear on the other side. You want to hear something funny? You humans do this same exact thing all the time. What's even more funny is your brain breaks, which should tell you it's happening. But instead, you've been taught that you lose your memory when you walk into another room. This is a lie, told to you by the greedy elites, handed down to you from father to son. Let me back you up a little bit. You're not losing your memory. By going into another room, you are stepping through time. By going through a doorway. Oh, the time is imperceptible, but your brain, your primitive brain, is rebelling against your ignorance and saying, doorway, time travel, let's go. And you keep telling your brain, no, I'm in the kitchen. And your brain keeps arguing with you saying, no, you just stepped through time. And you keep saying, no, this is the bathroom. Oh, why am I here? One of these days, one of you hamsters are going to stop and realize, step back and forth through a doorway, put 2 clocks on each side, have it go through to the 1000th position, and finally hit you like a ton of bricks. Okay, so answer me this. Take a deep breath. Think on what I've told you. And think on the one example I keep repeating. Answer this. What am I doing when I stick my hand through a wall? Time out of character. For those of you who have been following this series, thank you so much. For this particular series, I had to go and actually research mathematics. And I had to go through several scientific blogs, logs, discussion boards, and what have you, just to find out the answer to the question that I asked in this particular episode. I think a lot of people don't understand mathematics to the degree of for even simple things. The particular thing that the explanation that I went with on why 2 plus 2 equals 4 was a synopsis of a 10-volume explanation of what numbers are. In fact, the very first couple of sentences in the explanation appear on page 379 of volume 1. They don't get to 4 until volume 2. I invite you to go look up anything concerning mathematics and get a better understanding of it. I believe this is why people tell themselves that they are no good at math. They're no good at math because nobody explains math. Math is just as easy as English, just as easy as history, just as easy as painting. Once you understand what it is you're talking about. I've told so many people that they should, mostly black people, that they should go into engineering, and I get back the response, I can't go into engineering because I'm very bad at math. And my response is, no, you're not. It's math. It's simple. 2 plus 2 equals 4. And what's simple about that is 2 plus 2 equals 4 is going to equal 4 today, tomorrow, and 50 years from now. Whereas you could watch a movie and Tupac will be white in 30 years. Right? You understand what I just said to you? Thank you for watching the Shakaama Live Show, and thank you for tuning into this series.